Hi friends, welcome to Laxmails 31. I'm Sai Lakshmi. Hope you are doing well. In today's video, I'm going to talk about date functions in Tableau. Let's get started. Dates are a common element in many data sources. If a field contains recognizable dates, it will have a date or date time data type. When date fields are used in the Wiz, they get a special set of functionality, including an automatic hierarchy drill down, date specific filter options, and specialized date formatting options. That means you'll be able to drill down and drill up using the date column. Date functions allow you to manipulate dates in your data source. Let's understand the syntax of a date function. Before that, let's see different types of date functions available in Tableau. So we have different types of date functions available in Tableau. I have listed some of them over here. We have a lot of functions available. I will show you by opening Tableau public or Tableau desktop application practically. So the functions are date, date add, date diff, date parse, date trunc, ISDATE, today. So these are all related to date and we can manipulate the data using these functions. So that's why I have listed all of these functions here. So let's see the syntax of date function. So whatever column we have, if we use the date function and pass the string column within the date function, we'll be able to convert that particular column to date. So that's what the syntax is. Date of employee start date. Employee start date is nothing but the column. Let me open Tableau desktop and show you how date function works. So I have opened Tableau desktop and I have taken sample superstore data and let's understand what are date functions first. So I have clicked on the drop down available right below the data source. So as soon as I click on the drop down, I can see create calculated field option. I'm clicking on that and we can see the pop-up once we click on that. So we have all functions displayed over here. Now I'm going to select only date. So date, as soon as we click on date, we'll be able to see the list of date functions available over here. We have lot of functions available. That's why I have listed only some of the important functions in the in my previous slide. So we have date add function, date diff, date name, date parse, date part, date trunc. So many more like is date, is year, min, max, today. So lots of functions are available. Let's first understand the data and then come back to the calculation. So in sample superstore data, I have an order date readily available. So as soon as I click on that, as soon as I see the order date, I can understand that it's a date, not just because it has the name order date. There is a symbol on the left side of the column name. So that is nothing but calendar symbol. So as soon as you observe that, you'll be able to understand that it is a date. So if it is denoting date time, then there will be a clock symbol along with the calendar. So let me change the data type so that you can understand clearly. So I have right clicked on it. I clicked on change data type and I'm clicking on date and time so that if you observe here, you will be able to see calendar along with the clock symbol so that you can understand it is of date and time data type. So now let me revert it back. So I'm going to change it back to date only. So now I have created a calculated field to make you understand how we are going to convert a string to a date. So it's nothing but I have duplicated this column and I have converted it into string. So right clicking on it, change data type, I clicked on string. So this is how I have converted it to a string. Now, so now we have a string. Now I want it to convert into a date again. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a calculated field. We can directly do that over there also. Here also using function. Here I'm teaching how to use or how to convert a string column to a date. Now I'm going to use order date string to date. So the calculation is valid. I'm clicking on OK. Now first let me bring order date. So now I have brought in order date. You can see a plus symbol over here. So this plus symbol allows us you to drill down. Now again you can drill down. Again you can drill down till date. Now if you want to drill up, you just click on minus. So now we have drill down. A drill down is completely done. Now you want to drill up. In this case, it will display a minus symbol. When you click on that, you will be able to do drill up. Again, from month to quarter or from quarter, you want to drill up. So again, from year, you want to drill up. So everything will get drill down and drill up when you click on these buttons. So this is one thing. And let's understand now. Let me change the column to discrete so that now it's discrete only. Let me change it to exact date so that we'll be seeing the exact dates available. So once we change it to exact dates, it will display in the form of summation. So now let's change it to discrete. So instead of continuous dates, I'm going to display it individually. That's why I'm selecting discrete. Now, since it is a continuous date, we are able to see this green color pill when we are trying to convert it to exact date. Now, let me bring this column order date string. So as soon as I bring it, I don't need to perform any such thing over here because it's a string. It will display the values individually and we won't be able to perform mathematical calculations on top of that. So that's why we convert when we are trying to perform mathematical operations, we try to convert that particular string to date. Or when we are trying to use a date filter in the form of date column in the form of a filter, then again we'll convert the strings available within the data in the form of a date. Then we use it so that we'll be able to filter, slide, whatever way is required for us. So this is how you can interpret date function in Tableau. Date add function in Tableau. Let's get started. So date add allows us to add a specific number of date parts to the starting date, be it months, days, or years, etc. So it returns the specific date with the specified number interval added to the specific date part of that date. For example, if you want to add 3 months to a particular starting date, you will be able to do it with the help of date add function. Or if you want to add 12 days to a starting date, then you also will be able to do the same with the help of date add function. Let me open Tableau desktop application and show you how to use date add function with different date parts in Tableau. I have opened Tableau desktop and I have taken sample superstore data. It's available free online. You'll be able to easily download it and use it in your practice as well. And first, let me create a calculated field. So why I am creating a calculated field is like to give a simple example. For example, I want to display today's date. That's why I'm taking today function. So I am renaming the date as today. And I have renamed the calculation as today and clicking on OK. So let me bring this today to row shelf. So I'm changing it to exact date. And as soon as we convert a date to exact date, it will display in the form of measure. So we have to change from continuous to discrete to display individual values available within a field. So that's why I have converted it to discrete. Now what I'm going to do is, so my scenario is like this, that's why I've taken today. So the scenario is, for example, I wanted to display tomorrow's date, but I have only today's date available in my dataset, or I have only um, data till today. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use date add function. So I'm creating a calculator field. I have typed date add and I'm writing, so the date part, day, comma, 1, comma, today. I am renaming the calculation as date add day. I'm clicking on OK. So now let me bring this calculation to row shelf. Again, I'm following the same method, converting into exact date and changing it to discrete. Now you see today's date is 24/12/2022 and uh, tomorrow's date would be 25/12/2022. So what I have written in the calculation is, let me edit the calculation and explain it. So I have given date part as day and I have specified one day to add to the date given. So date given is nothing but today. So you can, instead of using the calculation separately, you can directly take today's function over here and do it this way also. So I have applied this and I am clicking on OK. Now let me duplicate this calculation and edit it. Now that we have completed it doing for date part, let me edit the same and do it for week. And I'm clicking on OK. Before clicking on OK, I am renaming the calculation name from date add day to date add week. I'm clicking on OK. The same way, let me duplicate the calculation again and do it for month. So let me rename the calculation name and instead of week, I am adding month. And please remember that the date part is case sensitive. So now I have provided date part as month. So let me change it to capital M. So please observe that it is throwing an error. As soon as you change it to uppercase letter, it throws an error. The calculation contains error. It says argument month to date add must specify a date part of year, month, etc. So it is very particular in providing case sensitive values while providing date part. So I'm changing it to the previous value, lower month, which is in lowercase completely. So now I'm clicking on OK. Excuse me. And I'm duplicating it. So let me edit the calculation and this time we are doing it for year. Sorry. Today remains the same. Year, year. I'm clicking on OK. So now I am bringing all the three calculations to row shelf. I am changing it to exact date. Converting it to discrete. Now let me bring this here. So we have today's date and then we have added one day to the current date. So that's why we got 25/12/2022. So now you will understand why I have taken today, because it is very easy for us to do the calculation from today and easily identify the difference. So our current date is 2022. So 1 month added to that will be 24/1/2023, and 1 week added to this is current week is 25, and the next week would be 31/12/2022, and the next year is 24/12/2022, and 24/12/2023 would be the next year's value. So this is how you can use date add function and get the dates which are not readily available in Tableau. This helps us in preparing data which is not readily available in dataset, and if you are predicting future values in your dataset which is related to dates, you can use data add function, or even data function can be used to subtract the dates as well, like to get the past dates also. So let me edit this calculation, and instead of +1 I'm doing -1. So let's see the difference. So now current date is 24/12/2022. Here if you observe, it got previous date, so which is nothing but 23/12/2022. The same applies if you want to um, get the previous month's date exactly from today, then you can use date add function and get the previous month's date by using date part month. The same way, if you want week, you should use date part week and add negative values to that. So this is how you can use date add function in Tableau. Know more about date diff. Date diff returns the number of date parts between two dates. So be it months, weeks, days, years, date diff helps us to get the difference between the number of date parts between two dates. So we have the examples right below. As I said, we have an example with day part and we have another example with month part as well. So date diff of day, comma, date 1, comma, date 2 equal to value. So here we have this example with day part. So we have given a date. So in Tableau, we specify the dates in between hash, and one date is passed between hashes and another date is also passed between hashes. So this is how we pass manual values in Tableau. And another example is date diff of month, comma, date join band, comma, date left band. So this is a column name. So this is how you pass dynamic values in Tableau within date diff function. So date join band, date left band is nothing but the column names. So let me open Tableau desktop and show you how to use date diff function in Tableau. So I have opened Tableau desktop and I have taken sample superstore data. So before using date diff function, let me take two date fields first and explain you when to use date diff function exactly. So first of all, since I have taken sample superstore data, I have order date readily available within my data set, and I have ship date available in my data set. So I am right clicking on the order date field and changing it to exact date, and the same way I'm doing the same for ship date as well. So as soon as I convert it to exact date, it will become a continuous measure, so I am converting it to discrete. So same way I'm converting order date to discrete. So let me swap this date to here. So now we have order date and ship date available. So actually, like we subtract the values using minus operator, we can also get the difference between two dates using minus operator. So first let me show you how to get the difference between two dates using minus operator. Order date minus ship date. I am renaming the calculation as minus. I'm clicking on OK. So I'm bringing the minus to row shell and changing it to discrete instead of continuous. So now if you observe, we got the values in the form of days. As soon as you subtract something, we are not providing any date part over there. So we are not specifying whether the difference should be in months or days or um, years or weeks. So by default, when you do subtraction between two dates using minus operator or minus, so it will by default return number of days only. So if it is displaying -4, that means the ship date is greater than the order date. That's why we are getting -4, -12, likewise. So when we are getting positive values, the order date is greater than the ship dates. That's why we get the positive values over here. So this is how we can understand minus. Now let's understand how to use date diff, because we are because we are getting the difference in days only. We are trying to use date diff, because using date diff function we will be able to specify the difference between months, weeks, days, years, etc. So let me write a calculation and explain it. I have return date diff function. So I have typed in date diff, comma, I am specifying day, comma, order date, comma, ship date. So this is how we specify date diff function. Uh, we specify the date part within a date diff function. So we are specifying day and we are trying to get the difference between order date and ship date. Now let me rename this calculation and name it as date diff day. Now I'm clicking on OK. Now let me bring this calculation here. Again, I'm changing it to discrete. So now if you observe, we are able to get the values properly. So earlier we were getting negative values, right? So we didn't specify how to do the subtraction or how to get the difference. So it has wrapped up everything in days. Days can't be negative. That's why it has given everything in positive values. Here, if you observe, we got negative values. Numbers can be negative, whereas days can't be negative. That's why everything we see over here are in positive values. No, none other negative values has been listed over here. Now, let me duplicate this calculation. Date diff. So I have edited this calculation. Let me duplicate this. Let me edit it and change it to month. So I have renamed day to month over here. I'm clicking on OK. I am bringing the month to row shelf again, changing it to discrete. So now if you observe, so here the month is 01 and the month is 01. So 01 minus 01 would be 0 only. So that means January minus January. So it is considering the particular year and particular date and getting the difference between those two dates. So that's why we got zeros over here for entire month and dates over here. So if you observe this particular value, 27/1/2014, 02/02 2014, we have 3 months of difference observed over here. That's why we got 3. So if you observe, these two numbers are matching because it is by default taking the difference as days. And here we specified the date part as days. That's why the numbers are matching. So if you observe, the numbers are varying over here. So because we provided the date part to be considered as month. So let me duplicate the same calculation and do it for weeks. So instead of month, I am providing week and renaming the calculation as week. I am clicking on OK. The same way, let me duplicate the calculation and do it for year as well. Year. And please remember that these values are case sensitive. If you provide uppercase, it won't work. Now let me bring week and year. Sorry. Let me convert it to discrete. Discrete. So now we have days, weeks, months, and years. So these two denotes dates and this denotes weeks. This one is related to month date part and this is related to year. You simply do the subtraction between two days. By default, it will consider the days alone and you won't be able to specify the time frame between the dates you are trying to subtract. The date parts you won't be able to specify using minus operator. That's why we use date diff function to specify different time intervals and get the difference between the two dates. Date parts function in Tableau. Let's get started. So we have different types of date functions available in Tableau. Date parts is one among them. So I have listed some of the important date functions over here. So date parts is one among them. Date parse function helps us to convert the strings into dates. And the example is right below. Date parse of the format in which we want to convert the date and the column in which the string data is available should be passed within the date parse function. Let me open Tableau desktop and show you how to use date parse function in Tableau. I have opened Tableau desktop and I have taken sample superstore data. And in sample superstore data, by default, we have a order date column available. And I have duplicated that column and converted into string because here we are trying to convert a string into date. That's where we use date parse function. So I have converted this particular column to a string and the calculation is right below. So string of order date. So this is the calculation I have wrote to convert a date to a string. Now we are trying to convert this particular string to a date. So let me create a calculated field and show you how we can do that. So date parse function I am typing in, and within date parse function I am trying to pass the specific date format. So YYYYMMDD. This is the date format I am trying to pass within date parse function. And now I am going to pass this column named order date string. So it says the calculation is valid. And now I am changing the calculation name to date parse test. I am clicking on OK. So before clicking on OK, I would like to show the description and the syntax along with the example, which is right beside the date parse function. So as soon as I type in date parse function, the function has been highlighted over here and we can see the date parse usage along with the description with its syntax and an example as well. So we have wrote the calculation already. I am clicking on OK. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the order date string available. And now let me bring this date parse test as well. See, as soon as I bring this particular string, you can see the exact dates is getting displayed over here. Since it's a string, it's not showing the hierarchy, like whether it is year or quarter or month or day. So we'll be able to do this hierarchy drill down and drill up on a date field. But when it comes to string, we won't be able to do it. So when we are trying to do this type of operations, or when we are trying to convert a particular string to a date field, we use date parse function and convert it. And on strings, we won't be able to do the drill up and drill down. So whereas on date field, we'll be able to do it easily. So we have drill down. Now let's drill up. So now what I'm going to do now is I am drilling up to the higher level. I'm taking it. And then let me convert this to exact date. So now this is a date field. When I try to convert it to exact date, it will be displaying the column in green color. The pill will be in green color because it will be displayed as a measure. Now let me convert it to discrete so that we can see the exact values. Now as you use date parse function, by default it will give the result in the form of date time format. So if you observe the icon over here, you can see there is a calendar symbol along with a clock symbol as well. So calendar along with the clock is nothing but date time format. So when you observe this other date, you can see only calendar symbol over here. So that means it is only denoting date. Whereas if you observe this column, you can see calendar along with clock. That means date time, data type has been imposed on it. So now this is how you can use date parse function and convert the strings into dates. Date trunc function in Tableau. Let's get started. So date trunc is one among the important date functions in Tableau. So date trunc helps us to truncate the date to the accuracy specified by the date bar. This function returns a new date. For example, when you truncate a date that is in the middle of the month at the month level, this function returns the first day of the month. The example is right below. Date trunc of month, comma, date column. Here, month is nothing but the date part and date column is nothing but the column we are passing in the date function, date trunc function to get the truncation happen on the date. So let me open Tableau desktop and show you how to use date trunc and how easy it is to use date trunc. So I have opened Tableau desktop and I am using sample superstore data which is easily available online. You can even download it. So now I am going to bring order date and bringing it to rows and changing it to exact date. So since I have changed it to exact date, it will be a continuous measure. So I am converting this particular measure to discrete. Now what I am going to do now is I am going to create a calculated field on top of that. So what I'm going to do now is I am typing in date trunc. So date trunc and I am passing a date part, comma, I am passing order date within the date trunc calculation. So I am renaming the calculation as date trunc year. I'm clicking on OK. Now I am bringing this calculation to row shelf and I am changing it to exact date and then converting it to discrete. Now let's understand the difference between these two. So if you observe this particular date, so we have 03/01/2014. So here it returned 01/01/2014. Since we have passed year as the date part, what it has done is it truncated to the beginning of the year. So if you observe this particular column, we have the dates available 01/01/2014 from this first record to all the records available with the year 2014. So if you let me scroll it down. If you observe this particular column 31/12/2014, here you can see the date 01/01/2014. That's because we are truncating the date to the beginning of the year. So when we use date trunc function, it automatically truncates the date and takes it to the beginning of the year. That's why we got 01/01/2014. The same way, if you observe the next date 02/01/2014, it truncated that particular date to the beginning of the year. So since the previous record was 2014, it has taken to the beginning of that particular year. Since the second record is belonging to 2015, it has taken that particular record to the beginning of the 2015. So we got 01/01/2015. The same way, if you observe 2016, the same thing you can observe over here as well. So 16/1/2016, it has taken this particular record to the beginning of the year. So now let me duplicate the calculation and do it at the month level. I'm duplicating it and editing this column, changing it to quarter first, and renaming the calculation as quarter. So now let's bring this calculation to row shelf, convert it to exact date, and then change it to discrete. So each year has 4 quarters. So what happens now is it will truncate every date to the first of the quarter. So we have 4 quarters for every month. So first quarter's date will be the first month's date. The same way, second quarter's date will be the fifth month's date. Likewise, if you observe this particular date, we can observe that 01/01/2014. And it's common for all months till April. Yeah, let's observe this. So if you observe this particular record 21/04/2014, it has displayed the date 01/04/2014. So it is displaying that particular month's first quarter date. And let's observe the same. This is second quarter. That's why it has displayed second quarter's value. So if you go back and scroll up, it is first quarter. So it's displaying first quarter's value. So the same will happen for all other quarters. Now let me duplicate this and do it at a month level. Now I'm clicking on OK and bringing the date trunk to month, changing it to exact date and converting it to discrete. So if you observe, for all the dates related to January, you can see only 01/01/2014 because that's what the first day of the month. And for all records related to February, you will see 01/02/2014 because it will truncate the date to the first of the month at the month level. So second month's first date. So the same way it will do it for each and every month. It will truncate that each and every dates related to that particular month and display the beginning date of that particular month provided. So it will truncate the dates based on the date part provided. So that's how we can use date trunc function in Tableau and manipulate the dates in however way required for us. How to get current date and current time in Tableau. Let's get started. To get current date and current time, we have two functions available in Tableau. They are today and now. Today returns the current local system date and it does not take any arguments. So the syntax is today with open parenthesis and closed parenthesis, and the example is also the same. The same way, now function returns the current local system along with time. And now also doesn't take any arguments. And the example is now with open parenthesis and closed parenthesis. Let me open Tableau desktop and show you how to use these two functions. So I have opened Tableau desktop application and I have taken sample superstore data, and you can take any data source as well. So let me create a calculation field, and now I'm going to just type in today and rename the calculation as today. I'm clicking on OK. Now let me bring this calculation to text and convert this date to exact date. Now today's date is 25/12/2022 and we got the same date. Now let me create another calculator field and type in now within the calculation. Rename the calculation as now and I'm clicking on OK. Now I am bringing on now calculation field to text again and changing it to exact date. Now we will get the date along with time. So when you are trying to display only date, then we can use today function. When you want to display date along with the time as well, then you need to get a current timestamp. That means now function in W. So in SQL language, when you're trying to get current date, you go with today in W. When you're trying to get current timestamp, then you go with now function in W. And to identify the difference, now has a time clock symbol along with the calendar symbol as well. So that denotes it returns time as well as date. Whereas if you observe today, it's just a calendar symbol. So this is a graphical difference between both of them, like iconic differences. So this is how you can use today and now in Tableau. For example, if you don't have like if your data is getting updated every day and you don't have the dates readily available, in this case you can use today function within your calculation so that every day it will get updated and the data will be dynamically changed. So in this scenario you can go with the today, and when you're trying to display current timestamps data, then you can go with now. So this is how you can use today and now with Tableau. State function in Tableau. Let's get started. ISDATE function in Tableau returns true if a given string is a valid date. So ISDATE function will check the string whether it is in a date format or not and returns the boolean value as a result. The syntax is right below. ISDATE of string equal to true. Let's see an example to understand better. So ISDATE of string is nothing but the date you will be passing, but it don't have date data type imposed on that. You will be passing a string within the ISDATE function. It will check whether it is of date format or not, and it will return whether it's true or false. For example, instead of a date in date format, if you are passing a simple name inside ISDATE, it will return false for us. Let me open Tableau desktop and show you how it works. I have opened Tableau desktop and I have created let me close it. I have created a new sheet and renamed it as ISDATE function in Tableau. I have taken sample superstore data, and right beneath the data source we have an option called a drop down. When you click on that, you will be able to get the option to create calculated field. So I have clicked on create calculated field option and I am typing for ISDATE. So as soon as I type ISDATE, I can see the function popped up over here. I'm clicking on that. So as soon as I click on the function has been highlighted under all functions. We have different kinds of functions listed under all functions. And if you click on the drop down, you will be able to see different kinds of functions available: number functions, string functions, date functions, etc. So as I click on the ISDATE function, right beside that I can see ISDATE syntax and the description of when to use it, and an example which guides us how to use ISDATE function. So as I said already, the syntax is ISDATE of string, and it returns true if a given string is a valid date. And the example is like this. So let's create a calculation field to understand practically. Now, before creating a calculated field, let me explain something for you. So I have order date over here. Let me describe this particular column. So as soon as I click on that, you can see the remote type Unicode character string. So it is a string data. Means the data type is string over here. So that's why I'm using this particular column to check whether it's going to display true or false for us. I am right clicking on order date and creating calculated field. This is another way of creating calculated field. I have clicked on that and I am typing ISDATE. I am taking this order date and putting inside function, ISDATE function. And I am renaming the calculation as ISDATE. Now I am clicking on OK. First, let me bring order date to row shelf. I'm adding all members. It is saying that we have use records. Do I need to add all numbers or filter and then add, or disable automatic updates and then add, or do not add? So I am selecting add all members. And let me bring ISDATE and bring it to text. So now these are all dates, but it don't have date data type imposed on that, but these are in string format. Now this is why we passed these dates and checked whether it is of date format or not, and it says that it is true. So these all dates are in date format. So for example, if you have some data available in your data set, and there's no data type imposed on that, and you wanted to convert that particular column to date, at that time you can first check whether uh, which data type it is of, or else if you directly want to check whether it is a date or not, you can simply use this function and display whether it's true or not. So let me duplicate this sheet and explain using one more scenario. I'm removing these existing columns, and this time I'm planning to take category. First, let me bring category to row shelf, and I'm creating a calculated field, and inside isDate function, I'm passing category. I'm renaming it as isDate test. This time I have passed a string, but it will give me false. Let's see whether it's going to display false or not. Yes, it's displaying false because it's not in date format. It's a string, but it's not in date format. But what the isDate function checks is it will check whether it's a date or not. Since it's not a date, it is displaying false for us. That means it is returning the boolean value false. So this is how you can use isDate function in Tableau.
Thank you guys. Thanks for landing at my channel Laxmails31. If you like my video or like my content, please like, share and let me know in the comments what could have been better. And if you have any questions for me, do let me know in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Have a nice day. Bye bye.